So recently, I've been rewatching one of my favorite shows from my childhood, Wizards of Waverly Place, and in my opinion, it really holds up well. I still find the comedy funny and the storylines interesting, but one thing that has always bugged me, even when I was a kid, was how the Family Wizard competition made no sense. This is what the whole show built up to over its 4 season run, along with their movie, and I feel like we all knew Alex would win no matter what happened, since she was the main character of the show. However, what we didn't know was how would the competition work. We got our first inkling to how it could in the movie where they have to have the competition early. I actually think I liked this competition better than what we got in the actual final competition that ended up being the season finale. This one that was an actual battle where they had to use their magic against each other to win, but I do feel like this one misses the mark as well since they could only use elemental based spells. To me, this just makes it so that most of their wizard studies felt unimportant, since most of what they learned had no effect on the competition. I guess in some ways you could say it's like college, where most of the stuff that you learn in college has no effect on what you do when you get out into the workforce, so in some ways, it's a pretty good parallel. Anyways, that covers the competition from the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, which gave us our first glimpse into what the competition could be. But after that, one thing that was really confusing about the competition was when would it be? After the movie in season 4, the answer to this got extremely confusing. After failing a test and attempting to unveil magic to the world, both Alex and Justin are dropped down to level 1 with Max remaining at level 3 in their Family Wizard competition. This was just a weird concept to me given that this was our first time ever hearing anything about levels, and up to this point, we were just left to assume that the main progression in this competition was studying and just mastering lots of different spells. Now with the introduction of levels, this becomes extremely confusing with no explanation on how these levels are actually reached. When they go down a level, do they somehow lose all the knowledge that they had just learned about those different spells? That wouldn't really make sense, and it's not shown that way in the show. So what actually happens between the different levels in this competition? So now with the introduction of levels, this becomes confusing with no explanation of how those levels are reached. This gets worse though when we find out that they do not have time to catch up before the competition and will not be eligible to compete. So this confirms that there is a set date for the competition, and this is reaffirmed later in the season when Max tries to move up the competition and it gets into a whole little scuffle between him and Alex and Justin. Keep in mind later that this is a set date that everybody knows about. Eventually, Alex and Justin do get back into the competition, so I guess they did have time to catch up, and those earlier statements were just to create a little bit of drama. Alex obviously had to basically save the world from the Angels of Darkness, but Justin basically just did some community service and was able to get back in as well. So when they said it was impossible to catch up, it was very much a red herring. The competition is discussed a lot in the background of season 4, but there was nothing that really explained what to expect or when to expect it. At the end of season 4, we got a 2-part episode for the wizard competition, and the episode starts with Alex doing something nice for her family without magic. This triggers the start of the competition with Alex completing her final requirement. This makes no sense because we were told repeatedly that this was a specific date and not just randomly happening when someone completes their secret task that no one knew about. What if Alex never completed that task? Would the competition never have started? This seems like a pretty big loophole for everyone to keep their powers. We also have to believe Alex has never done anything nice for someone without magic, which I have a hard time believing. Yes, she is the lazy and self-centered girl we all know and love, but she has on many occasions saved the world and done good things for others. It would shock me if this was the first time she ever did anything nice for someone without magic. Side tangent though, I really hate how the wizard competition episode isn't really built up to. The episode immediately before is a Harper focused episode, which the episode on its own, it's fine. It's not like I have an issue with the episode being part of the show or anything like that. But as the final adventure before the big competition, it was really just disappointing. And I would have rather seen something a little bit more interesting and something that maybe could potentially help lead into the competition. Perhaps Alex uses some sort of studying magic to help catch up to Justin in the competition, and it all goes wrong. Anyways, the competition gets started and it's a game show. I think this does make sense, but it's not very interesting or compelling, at least to me. Justin obviously is the most suited for this part and is doing well in the competition. Eventually though, a griffin gets loose and kidnaps Harper and Zeke, and Alex wants to go save them, but the others don't. And they are prepared to just let their friends die so that the competition could continue. She convinces them to use their timeout so that they can all go save them, which they end up doing, but they make it back too late and they're all eliminated from the competition, losing their powers. Justin and Max hate Alex and blame her for everything, despite it being Justin's best friend who caused the whole situation. I also think it's really weird how Max is shown to really be hating and upset with Alex throughout this whole thing, when even Max himself would probably agree that there was no way of him winning the competition. It was always, Alex and Justin that were going to win this competition, one of the two of them. So it was always weird to me that it was Max that was upset here. Justin makes sense to be upset about the whole thing, but Max never really made sense to me. They should have probably played him more as like a neutral character, I feel like. But moving forward, we see the siblings trying to adjust to a magic-free life, and Justin and Max just treat Alex terribly. Eventually though, they reconcile and it's revealed it was all part of the competition and it was a test of their sibling bond. This was so stupid to me. I like the idea of showing them without their powers and learning to accept that, but when thinking of the competition, it really has no effect on anything. First of all, Alex should be way ahead given it was her who wanted to go save their friends, while the other two did not want to go and save them. And then not only that, but it was also Alex who was still kind to everyone when the competition was perceived to be over, despite them being mean to her. This should have resulted in Alex being way ahead in the competition because Justin and Max both failed these tests. It also goes back to my earlier point about how the competition started. So if Justin and Max never made up with Alex, would the competition never restart and no one would win? That doesn't seem right either. Already this whole competition makes no sense, but we now get into the next part of the competition where they look back at their old memories and have to answer the spell to fix the issue. I actually really like this part. Maybe it doesn't really make sense in the terms of a wider wizard competition within the context of the world, but as a viewer, I really enjoyed this part and it was a nice look back at the past, and it's also a bit of a nice message about how we can learn from our mistakes, and because of those mistakes, that helped Alex learn and win this part of the competition. However, despite everything that happened, nothing really mattered since the final part of the competition was really what determined who won. So the final part is pretty cool, but also pretty disappointing. Basically, the final part is a race and whoever wins becomes the family wizard. I really like the reuse of old spells from past episodes to help get ahead, and we see Alex really utilizing what she's learned from her past mistakes to help her in this. And to me, this is what the whole wizard competition should have been from the beginning. Next, they get to a big maze, which could have been cool, but there was very little actual magic being shown and used in this section. So I don't know, maybe if the budget was getting a little bit cheaper at this part, but I wanted to see a lot more magic being used in this magical competition. I wish this final section was more like the movie, where they actually had to use magic to get ahead and slow each other down. Instead, they ended up making it to every section like they were meeting at checkpoints. They were stopping, and it's still kind of the comedy aspect of the show, and I get that part. But it also just is kind of annoying when there really is no stakes in terms of everything that we've seen before, because they keep matching each other at every point. So like they go across the bridge and they're waiting for each other at the end of the bridge. They get through the maze and they're waiting for each other in the cave, and then Alex is about to win, and then at the end they meet at the cave and it just becomes basically like a normal foot race, nothing magical about it. This definitely could have been worse, but overall I think how the competition was done was just disappointing. On top of all that though, it just makes no sense from everything regarding when it would be to the levels and the secret tasks and the tests that they had to complete. It was so convoluted, I just don't even know what to think about it. I would give them a little bit of a pass if some of these issues were from the beginning of the show, like if they had set up some stuff in season 1 and then had to stick to it when they got to the end of the season's run. But most of the stuff that we're talking about is from the final season, when you would think that they would have this stuff figured out. Now for me, I would have much rather seen the competition have a more simple date. This has worked well for shows in the past like Avatar: The Last Airbender, which has a clear set final date for where the show is heading. They could have waited till season 3 or 4 to reveal this. They didn't have to reveal it at the very beginning, but they should have at least had something in mind. My suggestion would have been that the competition would be held when the youngest sibling reached 16, which would have been Max's age at the end of season 4. I think that's extremely simple, and it could have driven a lot of the tension throughout season 4 as we led up to Max's birthday. It could have also made the whole little girl Max plot during season 4 more interesting, with Alex and Justin being tempted not to change him back since it would push off the competition. And also for me, I would just get rid of the whole leveling thing. I get that they needed some sort of punishment and reconfirmation of what each sibling was fighting for, but this wasn't the right way to go about it. In regards to the actual final competition part, I wish we saw them use magic more, both against each other and in an effort to get ahead. Bring back some of the old spells from the earlier episodes and just really showcase how far all of them have come over the years to finally become this family wizard. Finally, the last part of the competition I never understood was what actually is the difference between a full wizard and a wizard in training. Alex, Justin, and Max showed throughout the whole show to be pretty powerful and could take on some of the most evil wizards and other creatures in the wizard world. So what actually changed for Alex when she won? A little after the show had officially ended, we got a special that was released that was kind of like a two-parter episode. I wouldn't say it's like a whole movie, but it was just like a little special that they put on Disney Channel that showed another adventure with Alex as she's become the family wizard and following what had happened a little bit after the competition. And there's one scene where she makes a doorway to Italy, and we're told that only very powerful wizards can do that, but to me this isn't really that impressive when we see many wizards on many occasions travel across the world and between different worlds by flashing in and out on various occasions. So to me that wasn't that impressive, and the other instances during this special that showcased Alex's magic didn't really help show the difference between her being a family wizard now versus when she was a wizard in training. So there isn't really anything we are shown to explain why there is a family wizard and what actually changes when you become a full wizard. With that said, that covers my thoughts on the family wizard competition in Wizards of Waverly Place. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the competition? Is there something that I'm missing about the leveling system and it actually does make a lot of sense? And overall, what do you think about how the show ended and how they explained this whole family wizard competition? I'd love to hear your all's thoughts in the comments below on all this, and if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribed. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.